Have you ever felt like nothing before God? As if your faith were very simple, very small, compared to others who know theology, who quote the Bible by heart, who seem to understand everything. Maybe you only know how to say an Our Father from the heart, and you feel that isn't enough, that you're missing a lot. Well, listen carefully to what Jesus says today, because it will turn everything upside down. I give praise to you, Father, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike. Did you hear that right? God doesn't reveal himself first to the great intellectuals, to those who know the most, to those with degrees. He reveals himself to the little ones, to the simple, to those with a humble heart. And that, my brother, if you feel like nothing, is the best news you'll hear today.
Stay with me, because today you're going to understand why humility opens the gates of heaven and why pride, though it knows a great deal, stays outside. Listen to this prayer of Jesus. It's among the most beautiful in the gospel. At that time Jesus exclaimed, "I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Look at what a beautiful scene. Jesus begins to pray aloud, and his prayer starts with thanksgiving. And what does he give thanks for? For something that at first glance seems strange. That the Father has hidden his mystery from the wise and revealed it to the little ones. Let's understand this well, because it's one of the most liberating things in the gospel. The first thing, my brother, let it be crystal clear. Jesus is not against intelligence or study or culture. God gave you a head to use it, and the church has always promoted study, science, thought. This very day we celebrate Saint Bonaventure, who was one of the most brilliant theologians in history, a true scholar. That is, God doesn't reward ignorance. So what wise is Jesus talking about?
He's talking about those who think themselves wise. Those who are so full of themselves, so sure they know everything, that they have no room left to receive anything. Notice, it was the scribes and Pharisees who knew the whole law by heart, and yet they didn't recognize God when they had him right in front of them. And instead, the fishermen, the poor, the simple women, the children, they did recognize him. Why? Because they had an open heart, empty of pride, ready to receive. And that's the key to everything, my brother. God doesn't reveal himself to the one who knows a lot, but to the one who is open. Think of it this way, with a very simple image. If you have a glass full to the brim, not one more drop fits. Even if they offered you the finest wine in the world, you couldn't receive it because you're full. That's the proud man. He's so full of himself, of his opinions, of his certainties, that God finds no way in. The humble one, on the other hand, is an empty glass. He knows he doesn't know everything. He knows he needs. He knows he lacks. And that's why he can receive. Humility isn't an ornament of faith. It's the door through which God enters. And that's why Jesus so often puts children forward as an example, my brother. What does a child have that we adults lack?
Look, a child doesn't boast about what he knows. A child asks without shame. A child trusts, lets himself be led by the hand, doesn't think himself self-sufficient. A child doesn't hold a grudge for days. A child knows he's little, and it doesn't hurt him to be so. And that, which the world sees as weakness, is for God the doorway in. We adults have learned to pretend we don't need, to appear to manage alone, to always defend ourselves, never to lower our guard. And with that armor on, God can't touch our heart. Becoming little isn't being childish or foolish. It's having the courage to admit we need God, that we don't control everything, that we're creatures and not gods. That's where true wisdom begins. And this explains something that often puzzles us, doesn't it? Why are there very educated, brilliant, cultured people who believe in nothing? And on the other hand, there are grandmothers with no schooling, simple country folk, who have a faith that moves mountains, a wisdom of God that astonishes. It's not that God punishes the intelligent and rewards the ignorant. It's that faith isn't conquered by the intellect. It's received with the heart. And some hearts are more available than others. Often the one who knows least is the one who knows God most, because he knows him from within by love, not from books. I've seen this many times, my brother, and it always moves me. I've known elderly women who can barely read, who couldn't explain a single doctrine in technical words, but who, when they speak of God, leave you speechless. Because they don't speak from hearsay, they speak of someone they know, with whom they've suffered, with whom they've wept, to whom they've entrusted their children night after night. No book teaches that. It's like the difference between reading a treatise on love and being in love. The one who loves knows more about love than the one who only studied it. So it is with faith. You can know everything about God and not know Him, and you can know almost nothing and know Him deeply, because you're with Him every day. So never feel inferior for not being able to explain your faith well. What matters isn't that you know how to talk about God. What matters is that you talk with God. And here I want to tell you something direct, my brother, because it may be your case. If you feel your faith is simple, that you don't know how to explain the things of God well, that you only know how to pray as best you can with your clumsy words, rejoice. You're in exactly the best place. Because Jesus gives thanks to the Father precisely for people like you. You're one of those little ones to whom God reveals Himself. You don't need to know theology to know God. You need a humble and trusting heart. And that you have. Now careful, my brother, because pride is more common than we think and disguises itself very well. It's not only the intellectual who despises faith who is proud. There's pride inside the church, too. The one who thinks himself a better Catholic than others, the one who judges everyone from his pew, the one who knows every prayer but looks down on the person who arrives late to Mass. That, too, is the pride that blinds. And sometimes it's closer to us than we'd like. Ask yourself today honestly, do I think I'm better than others? Do I judge? Is it hard for me to admit I'm wrong? There's pride there, and there God finds the door closed. And there's a very simple test to know if one is truly humble. Let me give it to you. Look at how you react when you're corrected. The humble person listens, reflects, and if the other is right, admits it. The proud person defends himself, justifies himself, gets angry, looks for someone to blame. Another test. See if you're capable of asking forgiveness, of saying, "I was wrong," of taking the first step in a reconciliation. And a third. See if you know how to ask for help, or if you always have to manage alone. Because pride, deep down, is that obsession with needing no one, not even God. And the humble person, in contrast, knows he can't do it alone, and so he prays, and so he asks, and so he receives. Notice, the one who thinks himself self-sufficient ends up without God, not because God abandons him, but because he never opened to him. Don't let that happen to you, my brother. Admitting you need God doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise.
And the gospel ends with a beautiful and mysterious phrase. No one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. That is, we don't know God by deduction or by our own effort. We know him because Jesus reveals him to us. It's a gift, not a conquest. And that gift Jesus wants to give, he's longing to give it. But he can only give it to the one who opens his hands. The one who comes with hands full of himself has no room for the gift. So, what do we take home today? That God isn't looking for the wise, he's looking for humble and open hearts. That pride, though it knows a great deal, stays outside. And that simplicity, though it knows nothing, enters. That if you feel like nothing, you're precisely God's favorite. So today, stand before him like a child, without pretending, without boasting, without thinking yourself anything. And you'll see how he reveals himself to you. Today we celebrate Saint Bonaventure, a most brilliant man who, being one of the greatest scholars of his time, said that God is known more by love than by study, more on one's knees than in books. A scholar who made himself little. May he teach us today to unite the two. Use your head, yes, but with the heart of a child. Today's task is simple and deep. Today, pray like a child. Without fancy words, without complicated formulas, stand before God and speak to him as you'd speak to your Father, with your words, with what you feel. Lord, here I am. This is who I am. This hurts me. This I ask of you. Thank you for this. Nothing more. That simple prayer reaches heaven faster than many speeches. And a second thing. Today, when you want to judge someone or think yourself better, stop and say, Lord, make me humble of heart. And listen, if this message did you good, help me get it to someone who feels like nothing before God, who thinks their faith is far too small. Subscribe if you haven't yet, give it a like, and share this video with that person, so they may know that God reveals himself precisely to the simple like them. And leave me your city and your country in the comments, and if you want, write me a simple prayer, yours, the one you say to God in your own words, so we can pray united. One more thing, important. There are fake pages using my face and my name to ask for money and promise miracles. That is not me. I will never ask you for money for a prayer. The only true channel is
Light of Faith with Father David. Please be careful. Stay now for the Holy Mass of this Wednesday, July 15th, the memorial of St. Bonaventure. We offer it for you, for your family, and in a special way for all who feel small, ignorant, or like nothing before God, that they may discover that it is to them precisely that the Father reveals His secrets. May God bless you, and don't forget, you don't need to be wise to know God. You need to be humble. May God bless you all, today and always.